Well, good evening, Palm Bay. Tonight, I'm not doing any intros. We're just going to get right into it. For those who are joining us, welcome to Palm Bay Live. And let me make sure this is working. I'm going to check my device here, and just to ensure that we are actually live on the air and that you can hear us. And if somebody can just drop a comment, let us know that this is actually working and you can hear us. That would be awesome. Um, that'd be awesome. So if somebody can just drop a comment and say, yes, we can hear you. And we're going to be having a conversation tonight with Brian Anderson, former city council manager, in regards to the city manager position. Okay. In regards to the city manager position. Oh, thanks for telling us that you can hear us. Awesome. So tonight I didn't do my usual introductory, usual, you know, preliminary introductions as far as video intro feeds and all of that good stuff, because I just want to get right into the conversation. Um, for the last several weeks, Palm Bay has been discussing the fact that we need a new city manager, and everyone knows where we are with that. And you have seen me putting out stories in this regard, lots of stories, and I'm hoping that you appreciate them to get you, introduced to what's happening. Last year, at some point in time, Susan Sherman was fired, as we all know. And we are now at that stage where we need a new city manager. We do have an interim city manager right now, but his time is almost up. And we need a new one. Some information has come out that potentially Greg Links wants his old job back. And I've seen a commentary on social media. A lot of folks are opposed to this idea. And we see what happened last week on Thursday night when Councilman Johnson made a pitch to potentially bring back Reglings. And I know a lot of folks was caught off guard by that statement. So Brian has asked me, and to clear the air, me and Brian, we are friends outside of politics. We do have a friendship. Um, we Our friendship goes back a while, but we do keep our friendship on our politics separate. um, we know what side of the fence he's on, and he knows what side of the fence I am on. But we never let that get in our way of our friendship. But he came to me and said, Kevin, I want to clear the air. I want you to I want to tell my story. I want everyone to know where I stand on this issue. So tonight he's going to tell us where he stands, and I'm hoping that you can lend him your ear for a little and let him tell his story. But before I go down that road, Brian, for those who do not know who you are, can you reintroduce yourself to the public?
Brian Anderson, really particularly, man, I'm just a nobody, Palm Bay resident here, just living life, watching the show, as you stated, a former councilman. So some people are happy about that. Some people are sad. We tried to do some good things and some things not so well. Everything is a learning experience. So here we are today, older, wiser, and moving forward, hopefully.
Okay. All right. And Brian, I was just thinking today, I think it's about 5 years now when Palm Bay Live get started. And it was because of you, if you remember correctly,
I
right? When you
I,
were getting,
I recall.
yeah, when you were getting ready to, to make your statement um, on the dais, you contacted me, you said, listen, I want to tell the world this. And I said, you know what? Let's create a live and so you can tell your story. And now here we are again, 5 years later.
Hats off to you and the service you do. Whether you agree, disagree, we have to have services like this. You have to have a platform where people can get their voices out, opinions out, and always do your own research and find your own stuff and align yourself with the values that you have and what fits you the best.
Right,
But
right,
never just one side of the story. So
right. So yeah, that is so here we are. I have we spoke today. just to clear the air, we spoke today at length, and I told you where my feelings are with this, what's going on in the city. Um, and so it's obvious now we need to have the residents hear it. And I'm hoping the residents do show up tomorrow and voice their concerns on whichever aisle of the fence you are. It is your right. You're paying your taxes. Attend the city hall meeting tomorrow, and I believe it starts around 8:30, where they're going to be interviewing each of the candidates that are vying for this position. You want to hear from them. You want to tell them exactly, the council folks, where your position is as far as who you believe they should hire. Um, Everybody should have a voice in this. You should not leave it on just the 5 individuals sitting on that dais. And that's my thoughts on that. Everyone is paying your taxes. You have your family here, you have your grandparents here, your father, your mother, whatever the case may be. You have your lands, you got your assets. This is where you're called home. You should have a voice in this. Do not just leave it up to 5 individuals to tell your story as to which way Palm Bay should go on this decision. Okay. So with that said, Brian has introduced himself. So let's kickstart this. This is a free flow. And if you have questions for Brian, please place them in the comments and we'll bring them up on screen and we will have him answer them. Brian, Kenny made a statement, and you know where I'm going with this. Okay.
We'll see.
So he made a statement. And so what I need to know is, what are your thoughts on Greg Link? What are your thoughts on the other individuals that are vying for this position that, and what are your overall thoughts on the process as well? And so I want to hear from you, and I'm going to give you the floor. And in the meantime, if the public has comments, go ahead and place them in the comment questions rather. Go ahead and place them in the comment section, and I'll bring them up on screen once he's finished, and we'll try to answer everyone's questions.
So let me be very, very clear on this. My opinion probably doesn't matter. So I want to put that out there right now. I'm a taxpayer like all the rest of you guys. So I just want to put that out there, that I understand, and I'm not trying to sway anybody in this, and I don't even really think I have an opinion. Obviously, I had a conversation with Councilman Johnson. You can take away from that what you will, and we'll get into the ins and outs and that, and all the questions will be answered. Here we are. We're hiring another city manager. Suzanne Sherman was let go. Whether you agree with that or disagree with that, we're here where we are at today. What I would have liked to saw is Scott Morgan maybe stay on a little bit longer, or maybe even offered him the position. West Melbourne is obviously a city with a great commercial base. He knows what he's doing, and he's proven that he can do that. And I think some of the decisions he made up there have benefited the city. So I would have liked to seen that. What we have is over 100 applicants that put in. So there is interest in this city and what this city's doing. In my opinion, this city has always had the makings to be something great. I feel like it's not marketed very well. I feel like the family is kind of secondary, maybe even third or fourth in line when we think of things that Palm Bay needs, and it should probably be first. We should be luring commercial bases to the city and Palm Bay residents. This is not a pitch for a council run. It's just what we should be doing. We should fix the Go Road program. That's number one. So that's what I would be looking for in a city manager. It's broken. I said at the very beginning, the offset of it, we needed 2 companies to do the road program, that we needed to split it in 2 ways. Inflation wouldn't have hit then because it would have already been cemented. We would have already done the contracts. They would have already had it locked in. So that was a failure of council. They didn't want to listen to the direction, and that's okay. We're here where we are now. There's ways to fix it. There's ways to rebate the taxpayers the money they've already put in if their road's not paved. There's ways to take the assets the city has and privatize them, take those funds, put them in the Go Road program, and also give the taxpayer their money back. So let's just put that out there, that if council wants to fix this, they absolutely can. If the new city manager wants to fix this, he absolutely can. We said in the very beginning of this, it wasn't going to be easy, and some people got scared and wanted to piecemeal it, and that was a mistake. Now let's get to the city manager. There's 8 people that are vying for the job. Highly qualified people, people that have done the job before, people that are doing the job now currently. Whether you agree with all their qualities, who they are, that's to you individually. The only say we have in it is the voice that you have. So you need to have that out there. The only reason my name is in this mess at all, and I could live without my name in Palm Bay politics for the rest of my life and be okay, is there is some online articles that have a half of a story that paint a picture that is not an accurate picture. And I don't think that's fair. There are qualified people that could walk right into that city manager's job and do it. The council needs to ask the questions, the same ones that I just put to you guys. What are we going to do about overgrowth? What are we going to do about family entertainment? What are we going to do about GO roads? What are we going to do about the marketability of Palm Bay? What are we going to do to ensure that Palm Bay is not last like it has been? Every meeting you go to, we don't have an airport. We don't have a space force. We don't have a launching pad. We don't have SpaceX in Palm Bay. We don't have the beaches in Palm Bay. So our voices have to be those council members. Will they stand up at those other committees and those other boards and be a sounding board for Palm Bay? If it can't be the council person, will it be the city manager? Port St. Lucie city manager is intriguing because Port St. Lucie is a GDC community. And he's done wonderful things. Also, people from up north bring a different mentality and they see things through a different lens, which might not be bad. Change is not bad. It's the only thing in life that's guaranteed is change is going to happen. What I would like to see is an orderly process. What I would like to see is people treating each other like they want to be treated. What I would like to see is more love. And we can disagree without disparaging, without beating down, or without belittling people. We need to become a society that loves people, not agrees with people, not supports other people's decision that goes against your religion or your heart values, but be able to systematically better this community for everybody. How do we do that? You know, elections have consequences. Some of those council people made very clear what their agenda was and what they were going to do when they got in council. And the majority of people supported that because they got the majority of those votes. Whether you support it now or not is remains to be seen. Let me just, as honestly as I can, before God and everybody else, I could care less who the next city manager is. It plays no bearing on me. I care about my wife, my family, and my close friends, and God is at the top of that list, and everything else falls in line second. I have no dog in the race. I have no horse in the race. There's no wins for me. I'm not looking to try to get a council seat back. I'm not looking to run in 2026, 2028, 2030, 2032. What I want to do is fix the city. If anybody feels like there's a good idea that I ever bring to the table, take it and run with it. There's been plenty of ideas that have been run with by other people that were great ideas. I don't need the credit. Jesus needs the credit, not me, because at the end of the day, this is all temporary. And how you treat people is what is going to follow you for the rest of your life. There's an interview process tomorrow. Be there. There's also a compassion event going on in the city. Be there, volunteer. Time and time again, Kevin, there's 2 people that show up to council meetings, Bill Batten and Phil Weinberg, and they usually do their homework and they have it backed up when they talk on that dais. And you can respect their opinions. So if I was a resident, I would ask Bill Batten, where are you going? Why are you going there? And how did you get to that decision? Phil Weinberg, we've had plenty of disagreements, but he does his research and he can back up the things he says. So, make your voice heard, but do it in a way that you're not attacking people. We had somebody at a Dollar General meeting about the San Filippo Dollar General, and they said, I don't like the kind of people that it brings. So you've just lost the entire argument with your opening statement. If you come in attacking, people stop listening. Ears are off. They're not hearing what you're saying. If this is so much better, just talk about that. If you are so much better, all you have to do is focus on that. If people are going to attack you, They have no policy to focus on. They have no argument. They have no solution. I don't want problems. I want solutions. If you can bring a solution, bring it. It's pretty cut and dry. You don't go trashing every religion if you're trying to get people in your religion. You don't go saying, hey, you shouldn't be Muslim because us Buddhists are better. You should tell them why your religion is better and why you feel that way and why you're convicted in what you do. You don't have to destroy people to get a point across. I don't know if you have something specific you want to get into. I'm sure you have a ton of questions that I kind of just glanced around. So
I'm going to let this be a free flow conversation. That's my intent tonight, and let the public ask your questions so you can clear the air on many issues and others. And I will be entertaining the questions here in a second. I mean, if your questions go out of the wacko, I mean, I'm not going to put it on the screen, obviously. But if you have real questions, I will entertain them. So I want to hear from you, because I was watching the meeting, and just like the rest of the citizens of Palm Bay, and when I heard Kenny invoke your name and said that he spoke to you, and you pretty much gave the okay and gave the blessing. I mean, I'm summarizing to bring back Greg Links. Is that a true statement?
I think the quote is inaccurate. I think the quote's inaccurate. I don't think he ever said that I gave my blessing or endorsement to it. I don't know that that's fair. Now, do I think Greg Link is a bad person? Absolutely not. If you're a metrics person and you look at metrics, like you're a business person and you do business and you look at the metrics where the cities was at and where it was under Link, those metrics are in the positive. If you're not a metrics person, you're an optics person, there are some issues that you have to deal with internally. But if you're providing the services and you're providing them at a level they need to be provided, if everything is in the black and not the red and everything is thriving, then you deserve to look at that. What Kenny said, and I don't want to misquote it either, was that he had a conversation with me, a long conversation, and that I cleared the air on some things that were out there. If you want to know the things that are out there and what I cleared the air on, I have no problem addressing that at all. I don't think it was a full-throated endorsement of Greg Link. I voted to keep Greg Link. And I think I stated at that meeting in November why I thought that Greg Link needed to be there. And to be quite honest about it, Greg didn't want the Go Road program, but he came with solutions to what the voters put down, and 66% of the voters voted for that. And now the council has shattered that recommendation that the city gave to fix the roads. The trust that was placed in us and the other 4 members that were there was shattered. It'll probably never happen again. And the only way it could happen is if we did a tax rebate, if we sold off some city assets, if we immediately funded the Go Road program, if we took some of the LOGT and put that into the Go Road program, and every extra dollar that came into the city, 50 cents of it went right to the Go Road program. And you should really back up what you're saying, because if you're up there on council and you're saying the roads are a problem, you should be putting every extra inkling of anything that we have into that. There are plenty of other ways to fix things, and there's outside of the box thinking that you got to do. There's plenty of grants out there. Now, grants not free money. So you have to think about where you're taking it from, because if you think of all the COVID-19 money out there, people use that and used it in horrible ways. Anyways, there's an article out there, and we don't need to do any kind of shaming of any place. You can find that. If you live by that, that's you, and that's fine. You're a person, and that's great. There's an article out there. They ran a story. They say there was a vehicle allowance offered to me if I switched to vote on an agenda item. The article's not accurate. Here's exactly what happened. There's an agenda item. I believe the agenda item was for an assessment on units 38 or 39. I could be wrong about those 2 units. That's 7 years ago. It was a yes vote or a no vote to do the assessment, I think. There was the talk of a vehicle allowance that came up. The vehicle allowance was not something singulary to Councilman Anderson at the time. It was a 4 council member thing that we would have got a vehicle allowance. The rationale behind this was the mayor had a car. You can look at meetings prior, and there was a vote to where we had the mayor had a log to sign the car in and out. So the rationale behind it is he has this vehicle that he uses for anything that he wants. The mayor is no different than council. We don't have a strong mayor. He's a figurehead, a parade leader, no different than council. So that he would have an extra luxury that council didn't have, didn't sit right. Now, there was probably some angst between council members and the mayor, and they probably wanted the exact same things that the mayor did. And if I stated correctly, Council Member Bailey and Greg Link did not get along at all, and he would have gotten the same benefit. The matter did come to a vote, and I actually voted no on the stormwater thing, the assessment. It was either stormwater or roads. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. I don't know the agenda item, but it was stormwater or roads. I vote yes. I get the vehicle allowance along with everybody else, I guess. And I'm not sure what the conversations with them are. And there was never that quid pro quo, do this and you're good with that. So we come for a vote. I vote no, because in my heart, and I remember saying this to you, Kevin, I only ride on plan A. I don't ride on plan B, and plan A was the Go Roads bond. So I'm putting all my efforts in plan A, and when plan A fails, then we'll go to plan B. And there was a plan B, and we had talked about it, and it was a local option gas tax, and then there was a 1 cent tax we could do, and there were some other avenues we were going to explore as far as getting the roads fixed. And in hindsight, I kind of wish we would have did that, because then the council wouldn't have the liberty to throw $150 million in the air.
Yeah, we had those conversations before when we were in our committee meetings. Just to clear the air, for those who don't know, me and Brian worked on the road bonds program back in 2018. And so I was a chairperson of a committee, a PAC, that pretty much advocated for it and tried to push it through, just to clear the air. So everybody's aware. Most of you already know that, but keep going. So I want to get you to answer that question, though.
You're good. You're good.
I want to make sure that you answer that question about, what was discussed with Kenny. Yep. Pretty much. That's what I want to know. And how did we get here? So keep going. Yep.
So I voted no on it. And I want to say it was somewhere in October that I voted no, or late September. And then I have a briefing every Tuesday before the meeting. We go over the agenda items. One of the things that upset me was you shouldn't be unprepared for a meeting. And if you are, something happened. So, and personal reasons happen all the time. So people come in unprepared for that, but you get an agenda. They tell you what it's about. They tell you where the money's going, all this, that, and the other. So I have a briefing every Tuesday. So the next briefing, obviously Link is not happy because he doesn't see the Go Roads passing, which in fairness, the bonds don't pass here, Kevin. And we knew that going in. We knew that going in, that this was a long shot. So the fact that you got it over and that I got it over and that we were able to get over that hump, and again, confidence shattered in what they're doing with it. But he thought the direction to go was to do it unit by unit through assessment, and that the homeowners would pay for it. So upset. Never once do I recall, you're not getting a vehicle allowance because you didn't vote the way I told you to vote. And in fact, and we can do a Freedom of Information Act and follow up with the clerk that if that request was made in October for the vehicle allowances for council, if that conversation was had with the city clerk, anybody can do that. The public can do that. They can't deny you that information. You can find that information. So this was not a item that was directed towards me. It was directed towards council. It didn't go away because I voted no. Where the item did end and where the conversation ended was November something. It was Thanksgiving. And we I think it was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, we swore Kenny in, and his first vote was to fire Greg Link, which is his right, because that's when you instill your vote in somebody, that's their right for the next 2, 4 years, 6 months, however long you have on that council seat. That's the right you gave that person. So that was Kenny's right to do that. Do I know why he did that? No. Do I have my guesses as many other people do? Sure. but they're probably not legit and right because, in our own mind, we always go to worst case scenario or what fits our way of thinking because it's easier that way. So that is the exact conversation I had with Kenny. One about the briefing where the vehicle allowance came up, two about the vote that I took, three about if the vehicle allowance went away after the vote, four if it was a vehicle allowance that would have only been allocated to Brian Anderson, thus making it a Brian Anderson thing. So I don't think it's fair that somebody said all this stuff. Now, what you're going to hear is there's recordings and there's this, that, and the other, but there's no context to any of that. And you have an unfinished book that you're trying to finish. You're letting your imagination, you're letting your thoughts, you're letting whatever is driving you fill in the rest of the pages. And that's not fair.
Okay. All right. Let me get to some of the public questions because they've been typing away. So let me ensure that I entertain them. Without them, I don't have a show. So let's see. Randy Wickens, rather. I'm sorry. Were you promised a job by Links in, I think by Links in exchange for him back into his old job?
Absolutely not. So here's the thing, and I think Randy Wickens is a construction worker. I'm pretty sure he might be a roofer. I've roofed for some portion of my life. I want to say 5 years. I've built houses for a better portion of my life, and I've been in construction for a very, very, very long time. You make mistakes. You build for 20 years. You make a mistake, you're defined by the mistake, not the building you did for 20 years. I don't need a job. I don't want a job. The only thing that I will say to Mr. Wickens is he knows what it's like to not have his voice heard. I'll say that. So he has legitimate gripes when it comes to not being heard. And that's okay. I have not been promised anything. And let me be very clear. If any of those council people care what I think that's they probably shouldn't. Nobody voted for Brian Anderson. They voted for Chandler. Can you say his last name? I think it's Langevin.
Yeah.
I can't really. Mike Jaffe, who I don't know Chandler. I don't know Mike. Mike Hammer. I know Mike Hammer because he raised concerns about the former city manager, which I got a ton of stuff about when that incident happened, and we don't need to get back into that. And Rob Medina, I know him very well, probably better than any of them. We haven't spoken about this at all. We did, in passing, talk about Scott Morgan as a potential steer the shift after the Suzanne Sherman thing. And that was in a passing at church. It wasn't a giant conversation. I want to say that I mentioned his name, but he might have mentioned his name. So anybody on council that is relying on just a Brian Anderson thing, or, hey, Brian Anderson is going to be, let's, for example, say the head of Parks and Rec, in exchange for this. That doesn't pass the smell test for me. I don't know why they would. So what I think happened with Kenny is I think he appreciated that I corrected the article, that I told the truth, that I didn't try to, I'm not trying to change Kenny's mind. That's up to him. And maybe he feels bad about, maybe he let Link go under circumstances that he didn't fully see then. And I don't know. I talked to Kenny on a personal workout level, our kids level, and not a council level. This is one of the only times in the last, I want to say 4 years that I've spoke with Kenny on a council level regarding decisions. One of the wrong decisions Kenny made was splitting the road program. And the funny thing is, nobody up there had construction experience, but they were all road experts. So anybody that's relying on a telephone call that I had with Kenny Johnson. Now, I think Landevin's made his position very clear. I think he's done that from the offset. I think he's done that from November. The mayor and Hammer, I don't know where they're at. If Greg Link goes in there and he has this interview and they like what he has to say, and they look at the parameters and he checks their boxes, then they have to feel comfortable with that decision. That's on them. I get to not do that. I get to go home and go to work. So when they do what they do, and look, if their decision is to hire Greg Link, they're confident in that decision. The one thing I said in 2020 when I was going to run for election, when I need to defend myself in front of these people, I will defend everything that has ever happened because I think in this case, I'm the best fit for the city at this time. If you cannot defend what you are fixing to do, you probably shouldn't be doing it. So if they are locked into that and that is their choice, I'm sure they are comfortable with that. Again, metrics matter, but also the vision probably matters the most is where do you see Palm Bay? That should be the question. And at the very beginning, I know I said family entertainment, commercial base, go roads, fixing the marketability, fixing the image, fixing all these things. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? In my opinion, Greg Link filed for this because he thinks he has unfinished business, that the term of the city manager after him and the city manager after her did not leave it in a better place than they found it. And this is me speaking. This is not anybody else speaking. It went backwards, I would think, is his opinion. And he did so much in 2 to 3 year tenure that he could turn the ship around and right it. And nobody has the ways to fix it the way he did. So I'm sure that that's a justifiable reason to come in here and try to restore your legacy and fix your position. And let's be very clear, you're never going to have 100% of the population be like, that's the guy. But there was a guy. I don't know that gentleman. I've never met that gentleman. If we had a meeting 4 to 6 years ago, I apologize. I don't think he was in the marina conversations back when we were doing DCRA stuff, but I believe that's the gentleman that bought the arena. And his complaint was that over $1 billion was lost. True or not, I don't know. I don't get into the city business. My biggest priority, and I've sent private messages to some of my friends, some of the people that say negative stuff about the roads, about what my thoughts on how we could fix that and how we could fix it tomorrow. And they asked me to go public with that. And as soon as you do that, it never becomes your thing again. In fact, some political flyers came out and they called for the roads, the new fire station, and something else, which is all stuff done 6 to 8 years ago. So people will always use anything good for their benefit. So I was very hesitant to do that. But if it moves us in the right direction, I think that's what we have to do. As far as roads and everything else, the council gets the decision, right? I told you Port St. Lucie is a GDC city.
Yeah.
That has to weigh in there. Greg Link has already ran the city. That has to weigh in there. But what do you, so I used to say this, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I don't have a wheelbarrow full of degrees, but I have real life experience. So when the truss engineer comes out to your house, right, and he's like, how come the truss doesn't fit? And you as the carpenter is like, because it's hanging into the living room and we can't drywall it. And he's like, well, the computer didn't say that. So sometimes real world experience matters. Again, there's 5 people that have that decision, and the only one that doesn't have that decision is me. I know that full well, and I don't expect to have any bearing on that decision. None.
Okay. All right, Karen, I saw your question, but I don't think we want to go there right now.
I'd love to answer this question.
Okay, go ahead. Can you?
That's crazy.
A minute, because we have a lot of questions out there.
That's crazy. Yeah. Whether you're attacking me or you're agreeing with me or you're cheering me on, you put me in that position. And even if you didn't, I now represent you. We're not districts. We don't do districts. We're at large. We represent 120,000 people, and it is your right to tell us exactly how you feel about that. And again, I'm not there, so when I say us, it's in jest.
All right. Robert, you said 2 candidates drop out. I didn't get news on that. Robert, if you could text me, you got my number. For those 2 candidates that drop out.
So, and I think Scott Morgan pointed out some already had interviews, some already have this locked up. If they feel that's in their best interest, that's for them too. It's a job interview for the entire city, but mainly 5 people. So they should bring their A game. They should know about the city. We had this case, right? and it was a plantation circle. And the guy brought up somebody, and the guy had no idea what he was talking about. And he said $2 million could save Palm Bay, and he lost me right there. He lost me because you didn't know the city. You had no idea what Palm Bay was. Yes, you said you did, but you had no idea. So you lost me. I wasn't voting in favor of you because you were a paid gun to come in and tell me about Palm Bay and how rezoning and ruining this neighborhood could benefit us. You have no idea what you're talking about. So hopefully they bring some knowledge about Palm Bay and the situations that face Palm Bay.
This is more of a comment. How does the one person and everyone clearly objected to, which caused the search to begin with, end up at okay the list? What do you people need to speak up? People already spoke up. They said no, Greg Link. Okay, all right, we hear that. A lot of people are voicing the opinion on that.
So yeah,
Okay.
I wanna say this and be very clear about it. The Fishers have a lot going on, and we see them at a lot of council meetings. I saw Lance 2 to 3, 4 weeks ago, and I think I started off this whole thing about love people and treat people right, and I don't know that he's getting that. And I told him that if there's anything I can ever do, I'm more than happy to do that. I don't think I've ever met Ann or spoke with Ann. I did not have a say in who they chose. I don't know how they chose it. I would say this: it looked like the mayor didn't want him on the list. That's what it looked like. There's 5 people up there, and that's a question for those 5 people. What I did was I had a conversation with Kenny where I laid out what I laid out here 20 minutes ago.
Okay. Sorry, I was
And just to be very clear with everybody in the world, if they think this is the 1980s and people are wearing wires and they're mic'd up, they're very, very convoluted in their thoughts. Technology is not like that.
All right. So just to remind the public, the reason why we're doing this interview tonight is because Brian contacted me and said, listen, I want to tell my side of the story as to how his name got invoked into this conversation about the hiring of our new city manager. And of course, 3 individuals that's currently sitting on the dais is leading towards bringing back Greg Link as a city manager for the city of Palm Bay. Now, everybody has their thoughts on that. I have my thoughts on that. Outside of this quote unquote journalism thing that I'm doing, I know where my head is on that, and I maybe not be on the same page as everybody else. Who knows? But if you call me privately, I will tell you where my head is at. And but other than that, this is why we're having the conversation, to get him to clear the air, because I was taken back because I think about a week prior to that, me and you were having a conversation, right, Brian, in regards to this situation. And so I was taken aback by what was said. And so that's why we're here. Let's see. Let's go back to the comment section. And
I thought
let's
we were talking about Miami Heat playoff basketball.
yeah.
Surprise.
Right. So okay, so Karen, I think we already answered that, right? We went over that a couple of times. So
it was a conversation related to an article. The article ran. It was in relation to a vehicle allowance. The vehicle allowance was offered to 4 people in council because the mayor had already been given a vehicle and had a vehicle for some time. The mayor is not above anybody else on council. And I've offered this comment to anybody that's ever written an article. Let me say this: anybody that's ever written an article, I have offered my comment to. I have never said no. Never. So if somebody wanted to write a story and they didn't want to include my side in it, that was completely up to them. And they're allowed to do that. They don't have to ask my opinion. That is, it's fine. It's one-sided, but it's fine. They can do that. They can do that all day and night. So that's where the vehicle allowance came in. The vote was on a stormwater issue. If the vote was a yes, everybody would get vehicle allowances, but it was just geared towards me. I voted no. The vehicle allowance was still on the table. The mayor still had the car, so the mayor did get put above council. And what I told Kenny was, the accurateness of councilmen bribed for vote is not there. It's not true. It's misleading, to say the least.
All right. No resident Palm Bay wants link back. Why is this relevant? Why is Palm Bay Live publishing this propaganda? Well, Dana, I'm not publishing a propaganda. I'm just letting him hear his side of the story because of what was said on the dice last week. I'm giving him this platform to do that. And his name was invoked. And I was also wanted to hear the answer, but I didn't want to keep the answer to myself. So I figured, hey, listen, let the residents hear it and let them make their decisions. My decision. Am I on the same page as Brian? I'm going to tell you right now. Probably not.
And let me say this.
And I've shared that with Brian already.
Let me say this. I know Dana. We're not best friends or anything. We don't go out for coffee. He is a great person. He does so much for this city, and his heart is in the right place. This is not a grandstanding for anybody. There are a ton of good people to choose from. Council has to make their decision. My name got brought up. I wanted to tell you what I told Kenny, and I'm not, it's not word for word, but the gist of it is 100% what I told Kenny on base. The talk about our kids and how he's doing and his kids, that's between me and him. That has nothing to do and is not relevant here. But the conversation that I had with Kenny were the facts that people wanted to put on Greg Link were not accurate. And I think that's important. I would be doing Greg Link an injustice if I sat here with my mouth shut and didn't tell anybody that it was inaccurate. That is not cool. Not cool. Whether he gets the job or not, that's on him and his qualifications and what he can do to convince 5 sitting council members that he has the best vision for the city.
Okay. All right.
I want to fix GO roads. And I know Dana wants that too. So regardless of anything that he thinks about me, I think we could get there.
Okay, I'm looking for another question. Let me see here. See a lot of comments.
And when this is said and done, this will probably be the last video you see of me. And that's a good thing. This was more, I told Kevin and anybody that ever wants to have coffee or chat or go tell me how much I suck, that's fine. We can do that. I'm okay with that. I love having a fruitful conversation. I ran a radio show with a Democrat that was one of the highest rated shows. That was an awesome show. That was super funny, that we had a good time, and he agreed with absolutely nothing I said. So I love doing that. And everybody's entitled to their opinion, whether I think it's wrong or not.
Dana again. Let me see this one. I'm just confused. Why is this relevant in Palm Bay? Today we're hiring a new city manager. No purpose in this interview than lobbying Link. Well, I don't see it as lobbying Link. I see it's clear in the air. We may have a. I'm not lobbying for Link. I'm going to put it out there, and I've expressed this to.
Can I clear the air right now? Can I just there's Jason Brian Davis, there's Matthew Thomas Morton, there's Mark Shohani, there's Greg Link, there's Ricardo J. Menendez, there's William R. Lawrence, there's Howard W. Brown, and there's Sonia Alves. I'm not even going to be able to say that last part. I'm so sorry, Sonia. Vivarios, and these people have a shot to talk to council. Every single one of them has a shot to talk to council. They don't need to convince me. They don't need to convince Kevin. They don't need to convince Dana Valentino. They need to convince the council that they have the best vision for Palm Bay. What I would have loved is every candidate to be on here, but they didn't give Kevin a lot of time to get everybody to do an interview on Palm Bay Live. So you can certainly be mad about the council and the time frame, but I think they want to get somebody seated so that they can move and hopefully it's not an agenda, but they can move the city forward. And I said this when I was running, and I'll say it again. Keep moving forward. You cannot change the past, but you can change the future.
Yeah. So just to be clear, this week I ran articles on all 8.
Yeah.
As I knew it. Individuals that are vying for this but now I'm being told that there's 6 and 2 drop out. So I'm not sure of the 2 who drop out, but here we are. Let's see.
If
David,
everybody,
Dan, if you want to have a conversation with me, you know how to get in touch with me. We let's see. Another question. Let me see. I'm trying to find another question from somebody else. Robert. This has to deal with that investigation, right? So I don't know if you want to opine on this.
so yeah, I mean, I don't recall the last part of it. Again, it was and I would ask Mr. Burns to do a Freedom of Information Act and see if this was brought to the clerk of courts, the city clerk, excuse me, because you're running articles and you're taking things, and you never asked for a comment from me, and you never put out your one side of the story, and you put out a paragraph, and it didn't get to say what actually was said. So I'm sure on that recording it says that's me doing it, and then it says Link placed his finger over his mouth. So again, this is 6 years ago. If that's what happened, then that's what happened. I don't recall it happening that way again. And I want to say that me and Robert had this conversation way on down the line, or I text somebody. I might have texted to you, Kenny. If it was for me, why are 4 other people getting it? If it was for me, then why was the no vote there? And I would think at some point there would have been some sort of charges, or at least a summary of, we didn't charge Link, but we found him in this, but he did this. And I didn't see any of that.
Okay. All right. Let's see. This one is for Lance Fisher. Question, Brian, why did you talk to Kenny? I was asked by Kenny to his gym, and when I got there, I was introduced to Mr. Jared Elkins and the president of Greg Link. Elkins told me to quiet until after the election and not speak at the podium again. Just curious how long this plan has been in place.
If there's a plan, it's a plan between whoever Jared Elkins is, because I have no idea who he is, Mr. Link, and apparently, I guess Mr. Fisher was there, so he can opine on the conversation he had with other people. I talked to Kenny about an article, and I gave him both sides of the article. Here's the article. Here's what happened. So that's pretty much it. And I know I told you that you should speak at the podium, and that they shouldn't silence you at the podium, as every citizen should speak at the podium and shouldn't be silenced. If you have grievances, you have evidence of grievances, they should be heard. They should absolutely be heard. If it's with the police department and the police department is not operating accurately, properly, and with the trust of the people, then that needs to be dealt with. And that's not something you should ever be quiet about. If you thought that Greg Link would clean up the corruption in the police department, and I'm just going off, this is again just me talking and off of the statements that I've heard from the podium, I would venture to say that you believe there's some corruption in the police department, and that corruption is widespread, and that there was some incidences with some residents that were assaulted and batteried or something excessively, and it was ignored and buried. So that to me means you believe there is corruption in the police department. If you thought that Greg Link was going to clean that up, and this is why you were having a conversation with whoever, and I can't read a lot into it because it's just 3 sentences, then that's a decision between you and who you stump for. Whatever city manager is hired, they should probably look into that. And I'm not sure how they'll do that. And I want to say, Lance, you have a friend in Kevin, and I'm sure Kevin has lost some sources because he has ran some things that some people probably don't agree with, just like this video here today. He probably doesn't agree with half of the stuff I said, but wanted to give me a fair shot to at least say the stuff. I hope that helps. And again, I want to be an advocate for people, and try to bring them to a better place without this. If you think somebody's better, present that better person. It's really that simple.
I want to run a video that I produced today, and I don't know if everybody saw it. Let me kind of back off of this for a second. And this is the public comment section last city council meeting.
Oh, hey, one
Yeah.
second. I think I didn't answer his question at all. He asked, when did I talk to Kenny? I believe it was a Saturday. It was a Saturday, like right there. It was a Saturday or a Sunday.
So there's a lot of question about who this guy is, and you're gonna see him right now. You said Jared, right? I think he's gonna be in this video. Let me bring it on screen. 1 second.
So let's call the public. What are the speaker cards?
Judy Trandle.
Okay, well, you know, I do research, and those three that you're going to have interviews with are three that I also agree with. There's a couple up there that I thought, how in God's name did they get on the top 5? I have no idea, but that scares me. So, if those are the three that you're going to pick, I'm 100% with you. That's all I have to say, unless you want to know something that I found out. So, there you go. That's all I have to say. I agree.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor. Before I begin, I'd like to ask, what exactly was the process that we just saw happen? How were the interviews selected? And I only ask because I came before this council last year seeking a partner. I've lined up $260 million in economic development in the interim of waiting for a decision to be made. In the spirit of transparency, there's no transparency here. We started this process where everybody said their top 5, and you, sir, elected 3 without consulting anyone. How dare you? I have half a mind to pull $250 million worth of economic development and take another $212 million with me of counterparties. How dare you? You want transparency? How's this? Suzanne Sherman botched $1 billion in economic development under Greg Link. He put that together. He has helped put together the entirety of the Heritage Parkway connection as a privatized deal to make it happen. Nobody's having any discussion. How dare you? How dare you? You stand before this city as a mayor. You come before the city saying we're the greatest city on earth, and yet you run this like it's your fiefdom. How dare you? So I challenge you, I beg you, before God and country, tell us how that happened. We started this in the spirit of transparency. All night we've heard about transparency, and in the whimsical mind of you arbitrarily selected 3. Under the auspice of we were going to have a discussion. We were going to see where everybody fell in all of this. You should be ashamed of yourself. Point blank, bottom line, a disgrace. Thank you.
Council, any other?
Okay, so that's Jared. So if
See, I
anybody,
didn't know that.
yeah, so that's where we at. Okay.
I don't, like, if he's trying to spend money in the city, I don't see Scott Morgan stopping him. I don't know why that would be a stop.
Okay. So yes, I was wondering who this guy was too, and then okay, let me keep my mouth closed. Kevin, you're gonna get yourself in trouble. But yeah, I learned a lot of things in the last several days, and just leave it like that. But here we are. Okay, let's see. Is there any other questions? Wasn't the corruption on the link? Question to you.
So yeah, I mean, I think if you're referring to Florida Today articles, I don't think there was ever a valid concern that was not addressed, or there was a dump truck full of money that pulled out. of the city hall that went to somebody's house in particular and dumped the money there. I don't think that. There were some evil players in the game, and I think they got justice served. Some of them, not sure how all that worked out. And again, it's not my decision. It's council's decision. It's not my decision. And I want to say there was some ship funding issues, and I remember that called out specifically. And there was a giant audit that happened, and the audit came back good. That there was nothing missing or unaccounted for. So if there's like a specific incident that you want to, I can talk more about that. But I remember talking about a lot of those articles, and there were answers to all the things that were there. As far as like ship funding, CBDG, and was there grant funding missing? Did this happen? And then I think even now, if you look on Facebook, and even now with this, even though I sat here and I said that I had a phone call with Kenny Johnson to address two things, and it'll turn into corruption and this, that, and the other. And I've heard people call the mayor corrupt. I've heard people call the council corrupt. I've heard people call other people up there corrupt. So I think that, look, if you wake up in a bad mood, odds are you're going to have a bad day. I'm not telling you to look the other way. I'm not telling you to look beyond things. So there was a study, right? And a guy comes and he says, brown, 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 brown dress, brown coffee mug, brown this, brown that. And you have your eyes closed, and he says, open up your eyes. And all of a sudden you notice all the brown things in the room. We are conditioned to look for things that are ingrained in us, and you're supposed to look for those things, and we will trick ourselves into believing things that was just shown to you and said, look, this is two hands, and you're like, nope, it was one hand. It was one hand. He did a trick, and he cut it and he pasted his other hand that was the same hand twice, because we're conditioned to believe the things we want to believe. It's the same thing when you look at political arguments right down the middle, and you have this one side so passionate about it and this side so passionate about it. They present their side and present none of the other side, but they're 100% right. And I'm sure you've been in a situation where you're like, they're absolutely not. And then later, maybe a week later, maybe a month later, you heard facts from maybe the news station you watch, and we're like, whoa, okay. And you didn't apologize to that person, because who needs to do that? That's too much.
Right.
But
1 second, Brian. We have 31 people watching, and probably more on YouTube, because I don't see the count for YouTube. And I only have 6 likes. Come on, folks. Let this video go viral.
That's because of me, buddy. That's you. If you had a thumbs down button on YouTube, you're probably, and that's in jest.
If you love Kevin and you love the 5 years of dedicated service that I've offered the city of Palm Bay out of my own pocket, hit the thumbs up. I mean, I've been providing you interviews with a lot of folks online on the platform, interviewing candidates running for office, using my own time to write articles, and devoting a lot of money and resources behind this project. And trust me, I don't get no payment from Google or YouTube or Facebook or anybody else. I don't get no kind. I have my jobs just the same way. So just hit the like button. Just show some appreciation for the job that I've been doing to help get the word out on the different topics. Whether you agree with me or disagree, and I mean, you can always call me. I mean, folks who know me in the public eye know how to reach out to me, and you guys have my contact information on the different platforms to reach me. If you have an idea of things that you want to see on the platform to help develop the platform, to make the platform grow, you can always reach me as well. This is 5 years. I just communicated about that to Brian at the beginning of this interview, that it's literally 5 years now that I've been doing this. And it's actually started with Brian Anderson when he had made that announcement right after a very public meeting. And I'm not going to go back over that, but here we are 5 years later, and now he's back in the spotlight. His name was invoked, and we're now having a different type of conversation 5 years later. All
You
right.
know, it's a funny thing, and let me just plug Palm Bay Live here for a minute. Candidates, come on here. People watch here. People that live here watch here. Get your voice out there. Residents, elections have consequences. Do the homework. Some council people made it no secret of where they were at. So I think some people coming up and saying, "What the," is like, what the, what the, like, you didn't watch, you did watch, but you watched the parts you wanted. So, anyways, candidates, get out here, Palm Bay Live. I'll say this kind of a funny thing. When Kevin was on vacation, he was like, "Can you just make sure nobody blows up the website?" So I'm 90% sure that I'm an admin on Palm Bay Live, and I've never deleted one comment about me. I've never attacked anybody that said something about me. And I've never gotten too much of a back and forth with anybody. I try to present facts. I try to present ideas that I think will move the city forward. Whether you love me, hate me, take them, don't take them, it's fine, well and good, as long as I'm good in God, good with the wife, and good with the kids. We're okay. And Kevin, I like Kevin. Kevin's a great guy.
Okay. I mean, let's see. This one comment says, Kevin, I like most of your interviews, but I certainly don't like this guest. And it's okay. Tony, it's all right to voice your opinion. I like it when you have honest people that speak on your side, and I don't believe he's being honest with most of the things he's talking about. Well, that's your opinion. Do I agree with you? You may call me offline. I might tell you the same thing. I don't know. You don't know my thought process on this. I like to give everybody the platform to kind of voice their opinions and let the public decide. That's the type of guy I am. I'm not biased. I just let the public decide and let they call it what it is. I believe he has an agenda, and I believe that he will be in a high-paying job in the city in the next 4 years, along with Trey Holton. Well, we shall see.
So let me, if I can, me and Miss Morris have had a ton of conversations about things. Nothing recently. Mainly along the lines of our God being a forgiver, being able to move forward in God, and knowing who you are in God, and I have no intentions of ever working for the city, ever, and any aspiration other than helping the city with ideas. I don't want a job. The article that she's referring to, I don't know that it might have mentioned Capote. It does mention former Councilman Holton, which I have no idea what he's doing, and I haven't talked to him in a long time, and I hope he's doing great, as I do with everybody. And I hope Miss Morris is doing great, and I hope Mr. Morris is doing great, and I know they have their own issues with Greg Lincoln, that they're allowed to have those, and they're allowed to tell people why they have those, and Greg Link is allowed to defend that. But I don't want to work for the city. I don't need to. The article you're referencing, the only thing that it mentions me, I believe, is what we are talking about here today. I don't think it said that I had a high-paying job, and I don't want to. I don't talk to any of these people. It's amazing how when you're not in council, your circle of friends gets smaller. It's amazing the closer you come to the Lord, the people you keep around get smaller. It's amazing the more you focus on your family and yourself, how the close-knit group of people is just that, a close-knit group of people that are out for the best interests of God, Jesus, country, state, city, and that is the only thing. Again, it was a conversation to address a statement that was made via a phone call in a council chambers. I haven't come up here and said, this person is better than this person is better than this person, hire this person because I think he'll do that. Again, up to 5 people. You guys all have their email addresses. You all have their phone numbers. And if you don't, it's readily available on the web. I think everybody's given it out 1,000 times. You can call the city clerk. You can go down to City Hall. You can find the way to get hold of all these people. And for everybody that is saying, this guy and the truth and this, that, and the other. There's somebody else that is like, that's yeah, Link. He was the one. He had us there. He had $1 billion for us. He's the greatest. So I don't want the 50, 100 people that think, because look, and this is, you can either agree or disagree, but it's fact. The people that are happy, they're at home, they're watching TV, they're at dinner, they're eating, they're not complaining at City Hall.
Okay. Reminder, Brian, time is going, so I'm just going to remind the public. Listen, the meeting tomorrow starts around, I believe, 8:30 at City Hall. It's open to the public, and I believe there's going to be a period of time when we do get to voice our concerns, and I expect you to show up. I will be showing up, and I'm going to be showing up not in the capacity of a wannabe journalist, quote unquote. I'll be showing up in the capacity as a citizen of Palm Bay who has a family in Palm Bay, who cares about my future and my family. And I do have a business in Palm Bay outside of my regular 9 to 5. And so I'm going to be showing up as a citizen, and I'm going to be voicing my concern. And if you want to hear what my concern is, show up to the meeting. You'll hear my side of the story. And I'm not going to say it here on the air because right now I'm working in the capacity of a journalist, and I don't want to sound biased or anything of the sort. But right now, but when tomorrow comes and I do show up to City Hall, I will be voicing my 2 cents, as they say, Brian, and I will be telling the folks on the dais what I feel about the way we're moving. And so I expect to see the residents, bring your families, your loved ones. Let's make it a heyday. Hey, we may order some pizzas and sing kumbaya while we're there. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure many of us here are on the same page. And I see the comments. I see everybody opining and saying where they are with everything. And I expect you to show up. Please. This is your opportunity to make your voice be heard. I know it's a Saturday, and I know we love to spend time with family on a Saturday, but this is too important to pass up. Decisions are going to be made for us by 5 individuals, and many of us are not on the same page. Many of us, including me. Okay, and so we need to make sure that they hear us. And if you don't show up, they're not going to hear us. They're just going to assume that we are agreeing with what they're saying. And so please show up to the meeting tomorrow. Tell your neighbors, knock on your neighbor's door tomorrow morning, bring them along with you. And then afterwards, you may go have coffee with them and get to know your neighbor a little bit more. Who knows? Whatever it takes, but get out to City Hall tomorrow, because these folks are looking to make decisions on our behalf, and many of us are not on the same page. Many of us are not on the same page. Miss Pat says, I plan to be there. Okay, Miss Pat. And bring your neighbors along with you, Miss Pat. Who else plans to be there? We got to get out. There's too much things that's going on in the city of Palm Bay that we can no longer stand by and just let folks make decisions on our behalf. I see the comments on Facebook, all across social media, even on the Next Door Neighbor app. Folks are complaining about the different things. So we have to make sure we're there. Okay. Again, I believe, Miss Pat, it starts around 8:30. That's the last thing I heard, around 8:30. And if there's any government official that's watching this, city councilman or etc., you can opine too and let me know. And I can even bring you on the live right now, or you can call me. Most of you have my direct number. You can call me, and we can talk about it. I got $10 right now. Okay, Randy says I got $10 right now. That says link is in. Who wants to bet? All right, Randy, I hear you. Okay. Anna says it's clear council has made your choice and they're trying to do damage control for it. Well, they're not here on my platform trying to do damage control. I can tell you
that's for them.
Brian is not. Brian doesn't represent the council, and And definitely, I do not represent the council, and me and Brian are not on the same wavelength. I can tell you that much. We are not seeing eye to eye in many different things, and we never do. I mean, the only thing we see eye to eye on is on the Miami Heats, and he texts me every day about that. Okay,
So I most likely will not be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Two things. So 2016, I lost the man that raised me for a good portion of my life, my best friend's dad. And now my father, my real father, has stage 4 lung cancer. He lives in
Ooh.
Tampa. I work very hard to support my family 5 days a week. So when I can get over there, I like to get over there. He's decided, treatments aren't the way. I forgave him a long time ago for this stuff, and I would only have myself to blame if I didn't go there. So you most likely won't see me there. Should I not be able to make that, there's a church compassion project that we have, which I'm not saying is more important than a city manager position. I'm not saying that, but helping your neighbors is very important.
Gotcha.
So at least setting that up and not spending 8 hours listening to people sell themselves.
Right. I'm not going to be staying there the full 8 because I do have family matters to worry about. So I'm just going to be showing up in the morning. I'm going to make sure that I find out one time we get to speak as a public, and then if I need to come back, then I come back. If I can stay for longer, whatever. But I'm going to be there to make sure that my voice gets heard. But that's where we at with that. But I am going to encourage everyone to be there tomorrow. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. This is too much of an important decision to let the city councilman make this decision on your own without your voice, your input. You can't just blast it on social media because most of them, I think one of them, from what I heard, doesn't even have a social media account. So they're not seeing your comment. Okay. And so you want to show up. You want to let them know, hey, listen, I am not on the same page with you and I pay my taxes here. Okay. Whatever your thought process is, good, bad, or indifferent, you got to let them know. You got to let them know exactly where you are so they can make an informed decision. That's the thing. You have to let them know. And you're paying your taxes. I can't stress that enough. Don't let these people speak for you without your voice being heard. That's all I can say. Anybody else want to comment? Comment times at 10 a.m. Okay. So I think that's what Karen is saying. Comment time is at 10 a.m. All right. So I'll make sure I get there for that. All right.
So I don't think any decision is made tomorrow. So
yes,
you have time to let the council people know.
Right,
One of
but-
the things that
Go ahead.
one of the things that hit me was if you voted for somebody and you don't agree with them, say that. And then also if you're going there and you're going there for Jason Bryan or Jason Daniels or Howard Brown, and stay on point when if you go there with emotions high and you're like anybody but this guy and you don't pick your top 3 and have good things to say about those 3, a lot of those people, they turn off. If you have a spouse or a significant other and it's rah, 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 you turn off, you disconnect, you disengage, you stop hearing what they're saying. Present your argument in a way that you would want somebody to present their argument to you. So much more happens when you're calm and if they're like, wow, yeah, this person really knows and is really done the homework. And like Bill Batten goes up there almost every meeting and it is talking just straight facts. Is never like, yeah, you've screwed me for 50 years and never gets emotional about it. Just here's the facts. And even when he knows what they're voting, I know you're going to vote, but I'm saying the facts. You're going to hear it.
Yeah. Either way, they have to hear it. I mean, I can't stress it. I'm tired of seeing on social media where I just shake my head and I go, what in the world? Can we all just show up to the city? I mean, I remember I moved to Palm Bay and just a story, but 2009. And I remember when I was watching the city council meeting, that back then, I think Sue Han was a city manager.
Probably, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think
Lee Feldman had probably just left.
Yeah. And and I watched Bill Batten and only Bill Batten in the audience that was commenting on everything, and I was like, what in the world? Nobody goes to these meetings, right? and it gets crazy. And then there was no engagement on social media back then. I didn't see much because I wasn't part of different Palm Bay groups. But over
I didn't
time,
even think social media was a thing. It was a little thing, not
it was a
not a
little
this,
thing. It was a little
this
thing.
thing.
But over time, the comments grew and the groups grew. And so I've seen that expanded on social media where people are talking and about the meetings and that kind of thing. But what I'm most impressed about in the last couple of council meetings, I've seen when I watched the City of Palm Bay feed, the numbers have grew a lot. A lot more people are now involved watching the city council meetings. So I'm thankful for that, because that tells me people are now getting involved. But now we need them to show up at City Hall by the droves, not just when there's a crazy issue on the agenda, but all the time, because sometimes things get sneaked in when we're not looking, you know? And so on the comment issue, whether or not you can speak at the end of the towards the end of the meeting, that kind of thing. They took away that time slot away from us. All of those things got sneaked in when we were not looking, and so it's important that our voices be heard. And so I encourage everyone to reach out uh, to your councilmen and you voice your concern on the various issues of the day. And if you have an opinion piece, if you like to write and you have an opinion piece that you want to share with the rest of the community and say, hey, listen, this is my opinion on XYZ, as long as it's not laced with bad words, I will publish it on Palm Bay Live. I will let the public know, hey, listen, this is from X, Y, and Z, and this is their opinion. You can email me at kevin@palmbaylive.com, and I will publish it for you to help you get your message out as an opinion piece. So I will do that. So, and so I have that slot open on the website for that. Other than that, is there any more questions for Brian before we sign off for the night? I want you guys to go and spend time with your families, your loved ones, and that kind of thing. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thanks for tuning in. We had a good audience tonight, a nice size audience. And I don't know how much bigger of an audience I had on YouTube because I'm not seeing those numbers. But thank you for watching. And I appreciate every one of you. And thank you for supporting Palm Bay Live. Thank you, Brian, for showing up tonight. I'm not sure we answered all the questions the way we wanted them to, but you answered questions. And it's for the community to decipher whether or not those answers were to your, to their liking. And so, and I know what my thought process are, and I'm sure everybody has your own ideas on whether or not Brian answered truthfully or not. And I'm not here to call for, although I call Brian a friend, we do have our division when it comes to politics. Our extension is to basketball and family. That's it. And so that's
That guy.
and that guy upstairs. Yes, that guy upstairs. So and that's the end of it. Any other questions? No. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and you'll see me soon. Keep reading my articles when I publish them, and keep sharing them. And we'll be talking soon. Have a good night, Palm Bay. See you tomorrow at City Hall.